All right. All right. So I'm with Brandon Davis, formerly known as Brandon Pig. You changed your name like
Yep.
a year ago, right?
Yeah, year and a half.
All right. So it's getting starting off with a personal question, just because like pig invokes like
Yeah.
the image of a
Uh-huh.
pig. Okay, that's kind of what I
Yeah.
assumed. Yeah.
It
Okay.
was it was mostly my mom just hated that last name, and rightfully so. And so my mom is definitely the type where like if she's all in on like, hey, we're all gonna change our name, it is just by far easier for us to all go along with it than be like, no, I think I disagree with you.
Yeah.
So she wasn't gonna do it unless I would do it. She wanted the whole family to have the same last name. And it
Yeah.
was like, man, like honestly, my because at that time I was still engaged. So my fiance was pretty excited to learn that she's taking on the last name Davis instead of Pig. So
Mm,
it just worked out.
for sure. Okay. One thing. So I just got to acknowledge. I appreciate the way you communicate online. Um, I really don't like the people who say things like, here are the five reasons you should be taking creatine. Here are like the five
Yeah,
reasons you should, stuff like that. I think
they're
when I
AI
see your,
chatbots.
yeah, when I see your stuff on Twitter, you're more active on Twitter than Instagram, but
Yeah, for
when I see
sure.
your stuff on Twitter, it's like, I know you're honest, you're intellectually honest. You're not a fence sitter, so you're upfront about what you think and what you believe, and yeah, you're transparent about results that you've had. I'm looking at a tweet right now. It says year zero is in the books. Here are some numbers on how we did, and then it's a graph of like your
Yeah.
improvements as a team. I just really appreciate how, yeah, you're not a fence sitter. You're upfront, you're transparent, and you state what you believe. I think it's really refreshing because I don't think there's a lot of people like that in the S&C kind of online world. And that's kind of the way I try to be. I try to be like really practical, not overly sciencey and complicated on kind of like my content that I talk about. But all right, so one thing that I think is a really funny tweet you had. So you said this is 7/31, so about what is that, December, 5 months ago? You
Yeah.
said, it's odd to me that the Olympic lift debate on S&C Twitter is actually just a power clean debate, not even the clean, just the power clean. No one ever
Yes.
argues for or against the benefits or lack thereof of snatch and jerk variations. 100%
Ever.
true. 100% true. So I had a debate with Justin Lima.
Hmm.
I don't know if you saw it back in
I saw some clips from it. I didn't watch the whole thing.
yeah, and it was the same kind of thing. So like from my perspective, it was like most of the stuff when he would talk about Olympic lifts, he would talk about Olympic lifts as like this umbrella term, snatch, jerk, clean.
Hmm.
But then when we started talking about it, he's like, "Oh, I'm a proponent of snatch and jerk, just not the clean." So
Those
it's
are
like,
Olympic
why?
lifts.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, just elaborate on that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you were talking about. Like, for whatever reason, the entire debate hinges specifically on the power clean. And it's insane to me because like I'll see at least, and honestly, some of these guys are guys I really respect and have personal relationships, but I'll see 3 to 4 guys a year that they have this like come to Jesus like, guys, I got to be honest. You may think Les me as a strength coach for it, but we're moving away from the power clean. We're not going to do it anymore. We're just going to do the hang power clean. And I'm like, you had to make a full like, I mean, it's like you had allegations against you, dude. Like
Yeah,
we're not talking about training like Olympic weightlifters. You're talking about training team sport athletes, and you feel like you owe it to the world to say that we're just going to go from the hang instead of from the floor. I mean, it's like, man, like it is one singular lift. We're not talking about the snatch. We're not talking about the jerk. We're not talking about the clean and jerk. We're not talking about off blocks, off pins. We're not talking about from the hip. We're specifically talking just the power clean. And it's ridiculous to me. And the power clean is my least favorite of all the variations, just to be fully transparent.
why is that?
So I will preface this, and it's actually Dan Cleather actually had a really great tweet about how most S&C people just have no idea what the force velocity curve actually means.
Yeah, he's awesome. I saw that
Uh,
thread.
Dude, he's
Yeah.
fantastic. I've got his book sitting in my chair right there, the Force One and Force Two books. Those are awesome. But so I'll start by saying like I am not a. There's all the people that are like, oh, you just got to train the polar extremes of the force velocity curve. Like we're going to train the really really heavy, or we're going to train really really fast with sprints. And we're
Mhm.
like, the middle sucks, the middle's useless. The middle's actually kind of great. I like the middle a lot. But specifically talking within the Olympic lifts, to me, the power clean is the one that's in the middle. Like, I'm not going to get as much. get my wording right here. It's been a long day. I'm not going to get as much coordination at speed as I would from a lot of the snatch variations, just because the load has to be lighter than it would on a clean. I'm not going to get the relaxation component that I would get from an actual clean or an actual snatch because I'm landing in that power position, and I can't load it as heavy as I could an actual clean. So it's the one that kind of sits in the middle, and it's like, okay, I I'm not I'm not going through a full Olympic system. Like I think it's great. I think it's actually a great system. Like if you want to use all the Olympic lifts, all the derivatives, you're using clean pulls, snatch pulls, because you can use those specific lifts and, quote unquote, surf the force velocity curve within just those movements. But that's not the pinnacle of my system. So I don't need to do all that. So I'd rather do the ones that are just getting me the most bang for my buck from a just actual just variation solo on its point as composed of something else instead of working to improve those lifts specifically, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, do you have your kids clean?
Not clean. We do snatch.
Okay. Um, well, actually, this kind of brings me to a video. I was going through all your tweets and Instagram before this. I saw you had a post. It was like a collab post with Max Schmarzo
Hmm.
of the fast eccentrics. And so
Yes.
you were showing videos of your kids doing I guess trap bar drops into a squat kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Hmm.
Um, I think the point you made, I don't want to butcher it. I don't want to strawman you. I think the point you made was that using the bands pulls you faster than gravity,
Yep.
and th essentially that's why you're not prefer why you're utilizing this fast eccentric method, right?
Right.
Um, don't you think a clean does that better?
Clean specifically, no. Now, are we talking about like an actual clean, not power clean?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A full
So
clean.
yeah. So I love the relaxation component of the actual full clean. I think it's phenomenal. I think that in the weight room, we don't like one of the things that we skip over. We talk about all these different ways to improve force reduction, rate of force reduction, but we don't really talk about relaxation and what an important skill that is for actual athletic movement. I think the clean does a phenomenal job of it. If that's what you're using, if that's one of the reasons you're using the clean, I would never tell you, hey, stop that, do these trap bar speed drops instead.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
for
yes,
sure.
not all of my kids can perform a full clean. Every single one of them can do that. And even at that point, like the bands are pulling you faster than you can pull yourself. So the muscle is going to lengthen at a faster rate than it would in a volitional clean.
Yeah. Uh, one thing that I saw you put on Twitter I thought was really funny was like I don't even remember when this was, but it was you're like making fun of a coach that would say like, "Oh, you can't coach the clean, you can't coach the Olympic lifts,
Yes.
that's why you don't do it." And then beneath that you said something like, "Yeah, well it's not very easy when you have Sally, the eighth grader who just broke up with her boyfriend, and you got two kids
Yes.
pulling their pants down, pranking each other." I
Yeah.
just think that was kind of funny. Have you all did you ever work in college athletics?
I have not, no.
So
Only
you've
high school.
always been high school.
Yep. I knew from the jump that the time constraints just was just a lot more friendly towards family life, which was something
Yeah.
I prioritized pretty high. So
What time do you
I
show
had
up
an
to school every
opportunity.
day?
Depends. If I have a early morning workout, that might be like for, 6 weeks, twice a week. That could be as early as 6:30, but I don't think I've ever had to be here before 6:30 in the morning. More often than not, I get here at 8.
You leave at about 4:30, 5?
Yeah. And that's which I'm also assistant AD, so sometimes I have game coverage. So
Oh,
like
okay.
right before I was over here, I was helping cover for another coach at a middle school game. So some nights, so like this Tuesday, we had a varsity soccer and had to admin for that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a late night, but that's also not an every single day type thing. But yes,
Would you recommend?
back to your.
Yo, go
Oh no,
ahead. Go ahead.
I'll let you finish that thought.
I was gonna say, would you recommend most people who are going into SNC try to get into high school before getting into college?
I mean, it depends on what you want. Like, what do you want out of your career? What's your end goal? What are the things that you actually care about? Like, if you're someone who you want to work in a high performance system where everyone's committed to the highest level of doing everything the right way, you want resources, you want to work with great athletes, high school may not be for you. And like, that's one of the hard parts of high school because I think every strength coach wants all those things. And sometimes you're going to have to stand it in the high school level. Maybe they're just not always going to be available. But if you're someone, and funny, I was actually having this conversation with my baseball coach today. Like if you're trying to be Nick Saban, you want to be the best there ever was, and you're fine with committing, 15 hours a day to your craft, go chase professional, go chase college. If you're someone who's like, I want to spend, 4 hours a night with my wife, and if you got kids, spend time with them, and I don't ever want to be on the road and not see them for stretches at a time, college may not be for you. So it really just depends on what you prioritize. If you're young
Yeah,
and single, dude, go work in college because you're at least going to have the clout around your name that you can come in and say, hey, we did this at the college level.
yeah. There's definitely so I don't work in college anymore. Well, I'm an instructor. Like I'm not a
Yeah.
professor, but I'm a teacher at UND now.
Hmm.
So I'm not working in the athletic department anymore. But like, dude, the lifestyle I have is so much better now. I'm never on campus
Yeah.
before 8 a.m.
Yep.
I'm never on campus after 4 p.m. I really can come and go as I please, which I could before, but still it was like I'd show up at 5:30, have groups from 5:30 to 10. And then you
Yep.
have this like 4 hour window of nothing until 2:30. Then you got to come back.
Yep.
It's just like, yeah. Part of me wishes I just would have gone for like a Phi Ed degree or something and then
Yeah.
kind of work my way through that. But I mean, there's things about college strength and conditioning that I miss. Obviously, like being around like higher level athletes. But yeah, no, I just want to get your perspective on that since you've only been in the high school. Do you feel like you missed out on anything with not doing the college route?
Um, I mean, every single job's going to have its pros and cons. Being a college coach is going to make you great at certain things. School coach is going to make you great at certain things. There are definitely things that if someone's worked at all different levels, they're going to have skill sets that I don't have. So, I mean, yeah, like having only been high school, there are things I missed out on. It's just ultimately like you got to be self-aware of those things, but also it's some of those things that might not necessarily matter, like how I work with recruits, how I work with like boosters and things like that. I don't have to deal with that at the high school level. Like I'm not really worried. Like, hey, if I piss this kid off, they're going to transfer and go chase NIL money somewhere else next semester.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't get to work with like a full team. Like in a call, like if I was to take a job at like say like an IMG, where I would have access to, multiple assistant coaches. They've got a sports psychiatrist, they've got a nutritionist. I have zero experience working with a full team. And that
Yeah.
would be something that if I ever pursued a job like that, I would have to be very transparent in the interview process that I don't have that skill set yet. And I have to be very proactive going into it that like, hey, I've got to learn how to work,
Yeah.
not as a solo unit, but with an entire performance group.
Are you in Florida?
Yeah. Fort
That's what I
Myers.
thought. Yeah. You want to live in Florida the rest of your life?
My wife does not. So
Where's she from?
we're both from Huntsville, Alabama. I'm
Okay.
pretty indifferent. I mean, like, I'm kind of the type where it's like, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to go to church, I'm going to do the same things pretty much every single week. Where I live, I mean, it's the weather's going to be different. The restaurants I go to are going to be different. Outside of that, I'm doing the same stuff every day. I
Yeah.
really don't care if that's in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, or Wyoming.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Tweet you have. Uh, if someone says or does something that's dead wrong, but their conclusion benefits what you're biased towards, how do you respond? If you still support their sentiment, even though it's factually incorrect, your bias and your brand have compromised your integrity. 100% true. Have you seen this a lot within SNC?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to pick any brand because I don't want to, and I'm not even just brand, but like philosophies. Like, if you're a huge proponent, so like you, like we've talked about Olympic weightlifting. Like if you're someone like you who's a huge proponent of Olympic weightlifting and you see something who says like this is why we Olympic weightlift, but it's just not an actual benefit or not a reason to do it, and you retweet that or you quote tweet that and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh
Yeah.
yeah, brother, that's why I'm an authority on this. Like
Right.
this is like you should absolutely do it." To me, that's like you've now taken your brand of what people follow you for and you've elevated that above actually spreading messages that are going to help people and promoting truth that's going to help benefit other athletes and coaches throughout the nation or world for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah. What subject matter do you see this occurring in?
You're going to see it in anything. I mean, like, you're going to see guys, and like, I love Tony Holler to death, and I'm not saying Tony Holler does this, but I've seen other coaches that aren't Tony where like they'll say, like, oh, like, we didn't do this and we had this result. That's why we feed the cats. And it's like, okay, like I love speed training. Speed training is one of my favorite parts of the job. But like that wasn't like that probably is more of a correlation than a causation. And I think, like I said, like I'm not saying Tony does that to any degree, but I am saying that like there are other people and like or like even like the people who are like strength over everything, like nothing matters as long as you're strong. Doesn't matter if you suck at football, suck at basketball, suck at baseball. As long as you're strong, you're still going to be good, which is just objectively false. Like they'll be like, it'll be some video of like, okay, this guy is an NFL MVP candidate because he squats whatever.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, well, Devontae Smith doesn't squat that much. So why is he good?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then we look
Yeah.
at someone else like this guy's even stronger. Like this dude's a freak in the gym, but he doesn't touch the field. If it's just the back squat, why isn't he the greatest player in the league? But we want to find every single opportunity to cherry pick and be like, oh, it's just about strength. This is why you should pay me more. This directly benefits me as a strength coach. If you believe that strength and strength alone will make you a national champion, pay me more. But also
Uh,
don't pay me more. But also don't pay me more because if I make more money, then I'm now a bad coach and I'm a charlatan.
yeah, 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 yeah. 100%. Oh, okay. Don't even get me started on that. How are you evaluated with your position? Are you a dual role? So are you assistant AD and
Mhm.
S&C?
Yes.
So how do you get evaluated? Let's just say, how are you evaluated as an SMC coach then?
Mhm. So that one, it's actually kind of nice because my assistant head of school used to be the AD, and he holds his CSCS and like still maintains it active. So he at least knows what he's talking about. He used to coach. Like he's someone that can actually like look through programming, look through results, look through like injury rates and things like that, and be like, okay, like here's the things that I thought you did well. And which usually it's like he doesn't really have problems with anything I do programming wise. It'll be like, hey, here's an example of a coach you have a really good relationship with and things went really well. Here's an example of a coach that you don't really click with, so you kind of ignore them and they just don't really buy into what you're doing as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, like he's never going to be like, you gotta start programming power cleans or we're firing you,
yeah,
anything like that. Or it's going to be
yeah,
like, we did bigger, faster, stronger when I was the strength coach. You got to do that or you suck.
yeah.
No, like he's more so evaluating my relationships with people, my
Either
rapport with the
do the
kids.
sport coaches evaluate you?
Sport coaches do not.
What about the students?
Students, I actually get them to give me feedback. Like at the end of each semester, I'll just have them like fill out a questionnaire of like things that they think I'm doing well, things they think I'm doing poorly. Also use that as a segue to have them evaluate themselves because
Yeah,
honestly, it's just a lot easier to have a conversation with what I need to do better if I just had the floor to fully like if I'm just like, hey, here list out all the things you do better. You're probably not going to give me anything, but I'm like, hey, tell me all the things I suck at. And then I hand you another piece of paper and like, hey, tell me all the things that you think you could do better. It's probably going to be a more open and honest conversation.
right. Yeah. All right. Question about Nordic hamstring curls. I jumped on the Nordic hamstring curl bandwagon probably like 2018, 2019.
Yeah,
Uh,
it
when
was
like
2019 for me.
Yeah, when I mean there was some research supporting the validity of them in terms of like
Hmm.
reducing hamstring strains. Obviously, like research is limited and flawed. But
Right.
I jumped on the bandwagon pretty hard. But I was just going through Twitter and I saw you're not a fan of them. I think like to me it's just like I just use them, but I don't think it's kind of embarrassing because I think I made a YouTube video about like how great they are and why they are like a unique stimulus, which they're not. Like I don't think that anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to hear your take on them.
Yeah, I think they're fine. Like, but they're just fine. They're
Yeah,
not the silver bullet. They're not this like, oh, like if we'd have only done one more set of Nordic hamstrings this week, this kid wouldn't have pulled his hamstring. Like, no, they're just Nordic curls. They're a hamstring exercise. They're a fine one. I think they have some flaws. I think a lot of people can't maintain proper pelvic positioning while they do it. And so that leads to a lot of botched reps. But
yeah,
like, who cares if you're botching reps as long as you say you're doing Nordics, right? But I mean, my biggest thing is like evaluate your own success. Like look to your own programming first before you're looking at all the trends and fads. Like look at your hamstring injury rates. Are they good or are they bad? So like for me, I went 2 years straight without a single hamstring injury. This year we had three linemen in football have some issues. So that's worth evaluating from top to bottom, like not only what they're doing with me, what they're not doing with me, what they're doing in practice. But like for those 2 year stretches, we didn't do a single Nordic. And we also like if we did an RDL, we either went staggered or single leg. So if you're gonna get on Twitter and be like, oh, if you want to have resilient hamstrings, you have to Nordic curl and you have to bilateral RDL, why would I change anything? If I'm looking at my kids and like still over a 2.5 year period, three injuries and they're all from the same position group, like there's probably something else going on.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about trap bar deadlifts. Um, we probably agree on this that like it's the most overused
Yeah.
exercise for yeah. Okay. Trap bar deadlifts is like the other thing that there was a bandwagon time period where people
Yes.
were
I felt
just
so,
like
oh my,
making
like you
yeah,
said,
making
I'm very embarrassed by how far I fell into the big trap bar propaganda. Like
yes,
I was
dude, me
hook,
too.
line, and sinker. And I mean, I've done a full 180 almost.
Yeah. Well, so I was going through Twitter, so you had a video, I think it was a side-by-side video of like a kid doing a sumo deadlift and then a kid doing a trap bar deadlift. I can't remember what you said in the tweet, but um just yeah, elaborate. Why are you not a fan of the trap bar? Why is the sumo better? Like just give me all your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'll go through a few. So first I'll talk about the things that I do like the trap bar for, because I haven't just thrown my trap bars in the trash. I still
See,
think
I
they're
have. I
good.
don't I have a trap bar. I have a trap bar in my garage. I haven't
Yeah.
used it with a personal client since probably 2021, maybe 2022. And like
Yeah.
if I am going to use it, it's going to be like a last resort thing and only because of some sort of anatomical or injury limitation where this is the only way I'm going to be able to load someone's lower body. So there's my caveat to
Yeah.
that.
No, I honestly don't care if you do throw them away. I would be like my admin could be like, "Hey, we need more money. We're gonna sell your trap bars," and I'm not gonna like fall to my knees and cry. It would
Yeah.
not change much of my programming. But so I do like them for novice athletes. Like if I have a kid who doesn't really have strength or like enough strength to be stable in deeper ranges of motion, a trap bar is a good way to go ahead and start getting output of that kid right away, and we can build in that strength through ranges over time. So like for novices, I think it's a great strength movement. Once we start talking like kids that are pulling, 4, 5, 6, 700 pounds, especially at the freaking rogue trap. I hate the rogue trap bars. Those handles are like dang 10 inches above the pins. And so like you're doing a mid thigh pull. You're not even
Yeah.
doing a trap bar deadlift at that point. You're doing a neutral grip mid thigh pull. And so like, yeah, you pulled 700 on it. You also could do that on a mid thigh pull, but you probably couldn't pull 400 on an actual straight bar deadlift.
Yeah.
And so it gets to the point like you start looking at the movement, it's just a quarter squat with the bar in your hands instead of the bar on your back. And it's if we can, I think you can remove a lot of the emotional attachment to the trap bar deadlift if you just start viewing it as a quarter squat.
Yeah.
Because it's like how many coaches do you know that have one RM leaderboards for quarter squat?
None.
Not a one, nor have I heard of it. But like it's, we talked about how you don't want to talk about KPIs on this because it's kind of redundant. Everyone talks about it. But yeah, like so many people want to make their trap bar deadlift 1RM a huge KPI. And you just took a movement where you're not going through full range and then loaded it up really heavy. It's like, of course you can go heavy on it. It's in a very advantageous position. It's really easy to be strong there. Why? No,
Yeah.
that being said, I do like it for like, I think it's perfectly fine for power movements for those more stronger athletes. So I have no issue with like we were talking about the trap bar speed drops I was doing, or like a trap bar jump, or like a continuous trap bar jump. I think those things all have merit. I like them. I still use them from time to time. I actually brought back in the heavy trap bar jump for the first time in probably a year today. Like for power work, I think it's perfectly fine. Another thing, so me and Cody Hughes have talked about this. Everyone talks about the back squat like it's this absolute demon. And even more so, like we talked about how trap bar convinced us all that like
It's
straight bar deadlifts
safer.
are evil. They are
Yeah.
so bad. They're not athlete friendly. They're going to hurt everyone's backs. But for whatever reason, both me and Cody both observed this, and it wasn't a thing that we observed when I was with him. It was just both after we were talking about it, because I was off the trap bar bandwagon probably about 6 months before him. we have both had far more athletes complain about back pain from a trap bar deadlift than a straight bar deadlift, a back squat, and whatever other not back friendly exercise you want to say combined. So if
Yeah.
I've got 15% of the room complaining about trap bar deadlift, it's a lot easier for me to just program a regular deadlift and have maybe one kid complain and find an alternative for that one kid.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. No, there's not an exercise that I think is worse in terms of like when you kind of see highlight videos online of weight rooms doing a trap bar deadlift. You look at them from the side, dude, they look like a dog taking a shit, hunched over.
Yes.
Like no exercise is worse that I've ever seen than a trap bar deadlift.
Hmm.
And it's crazy to me that yeah, I've been off that for a long time. See, actually, I think it's a little bit different. My perspective is a little bit different than yours. Wait, no, it's the same. I think, did you say it works better for people who are stronger or who are weaker?
Who are weaker.
Okay, yeah, so I
Not
see it
necessarily weaker,
differently.
but like novices that can't get into a deep range right away.
Yeah.
Like if I've got, someone who's brand new, but they've still got to contribute in some way, I can still get some output out of a trap bar. But I'm trying to get them out of that within 4 to 6 weeks. Like my middle
Yeah,
schoolers did
I
a three
would.
week block, and then we went to straight bar deadlift.
Yeah, see, the way I see it is like, um, I'd rather have a strong person trap our deadlift after they've already learned how to hinge well, deadlift
I
well.
do agree with
Because
that.
like, where it's like, if you're already strong, or if you're strong and you want some variation, throw a trap bar in. But like, if you're weak,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
want you to deadlift first, RDL first. Learn to move well with straight bar first. It's going to develop your lower back better, the entire musculature of the posterior part of the body. Um, Anyways, we're probably like, yeah, we're 30 minutes in. Okay, last thing I wanna ask you about before I let you go here. Now this thing, your Twitter went away. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh yeah, here we go. There's a tweet not too long ago. So you said, here are two things that I found benefit from high frequency: jumps in small doses and bench press. Things that you haven't had success with at high frequency: sprints and lower body strength movements if athleticism is the main goal. Is this just something for you found personally or with people you work with?
Both, actually.
So not sprints. So I think for me personally, sprints at a high frequency, low volume, high frequency has worked really well for me. So I want to hear your experience
First,
with that.
first, let's define high frequency. Like, what are you calling high frequency?
Fuck, that's a good question. 3 to 4 times a week?
Okay, so yeah, I think we're pretty much the same there. So like the high frequency stuff I found is like we'll some type of press 4 times a week, and it's been really beneficial. Like bench press especially. Like if you're only benching once a week and you're only doing one other movement and you're trying to emulate Louis Simmons and you're like, okay, we're gonna bench press heavy once a week, and then we're gonna do one fast movement once a week. I don't think you're gonna drive a lot of bench press adaptation.
Yep,
I
I'm
mean,
in agreement with that for sure.
yeah. So the more we've pressed, just the better we've gotten at it, and we'll dial volume back a little bit so we don't ever have any shoulder issues or anything like that. Sprinting, I tried doing like a very low dose of like 4 sprints a week, not four total, but like 4 days a week,
Okay, yeah.
and it just didn't work. It may just be because of everything else that was going on in the program. I'm not saying it's wrong because I know a lot of really, really good coaches that do sprint 4 times a week, and it's worked great for them. But just the way, I don't know if it's just the way I program, but
How were
two
you
times a
splitting up
week.
the dose of sprinting? Was it like how far were you running? How many reps a day? Kind of that.
So reps would usually be capped around 3 to 4. Actually, always capped around 3 to 4. I don't know why I said usually. We would The furthest distance would be 25 yards, just because we're in a basketball gymnasium. It's kind of hard to get a little bit further out than that.
Yeah.
We would Early in the week, we would start with like more early acceleration type stuff. Later in the week, more max velo type stuff. Which is the same format I use on the 2 day a week. It's just for whatever reason, going 2 days a week, have that same kind of early acceleration early, more top speed later in the week has just worked better with twice a week. Don't know why. Don't think you're wrong if you do that the other way. It's just for our kids personally, it worked better one way than the other.
Okay. And then when you say jumps, are you talking about jumps or are you lumping plyos in there too? Like the difference between a jump and
Yes.
a plyo? Are those the same thing? You're talking about the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the jumps, we'll jump 5 days a week. So
Yeah.
like right now we're on, I think I stole these from Joey Garaccio. On Monday, it's just easy because we don't have to measure it, so we can get through a lot of reps really quickly. But we'll do a rear foot elevated broad jump, which is a variation I'd never done until this year. I just saw Joey do it, and I kind of liked the shin angles, and I kind of liked what I saw at the hip, and I gave it a shot, and the kids really liked it. They said it felt good, and they said they felt good sprinting the next day.
I'll have to
So I
try
stole that
that.
one.
I've never tried that before.
Yeah, no, it's kind of neat. You kind of have to go with a little bit of a more narrow stance than you would like on an RFE split squat. But yeah, no, the kids loved it, and it actually did work really well with that early acceleration work.
When you do that, does that back foot, does it like, is there a lot of friction that makes it uncomfortable at all on the
I haven't
roller?
had any complaints on it,
No.
which
Okay.
we're coming off a bench, and so we're just going foot flat on top of a bench. We don't have the
Yeah.
actual like rollers that you can use.
I'll
Yeah,
try
so
that.
we'll
I'll let
do.
you know how it feels for me.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Like it was, like I said, like the first time I saw Joey doing it, I was like, that's weird. I've never seen anyone else do that, and gave it a shot with the kids, or I gave it a shot with myself first, then middle schoolers, which is kind of my usual testing battery. Like try it on myself. If it feels good to me, I'll try it on middle schoolers. If someone as stupid as a middle schooler can do it, I can definitely execute it in a high school setting.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I tried it with my high school kids and they really enjoyed it. But yeah, then like Tuesday, right now we're doing like a 5 jump on the skyhook jump mat. And so a little bit more reactive, more elasticity. Wednesday, we'll use the Vertec and just do like normal counter movement jumps. Today we did triple broad jumps. And then tomorrow we'll do a depth jump.
When you do the vertex, do you just have one?
I just have one.
Does it
Yes.
take a while to
So
get everyone through there?
so what I do, Wednesdays for us are really weird. We're a private Christian school, and so Wednesdays is our chapel day. And so it already starts an hour later. So school starts at 9 instead of 8. And then there's also chapel built into the day. So the class periods get cut down by about 15 minutes. And we're also not connected to the main campus, so it takes kids longer to get to the weight room than other classes. So we would have about like 15 to 18 minutes, depending on the class, to actually train. So I just let the kids play games on Wednesdays. And like, so we'll just play like some variation of like handball or ultimate frisbee or pick up basketball. And what I'll do is I'll just bring over a group of kids and I organize it by like lowest verts first. And
Okay.
then so I'll work through and like as I progress my groups, that way as a new group's coming over, I can slide my vertec up to accommodate the better jumping athletes. And then they'll get in like usually 3 or 4 total attempts.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. What about the
Yeah.
rest of the week? Thursday, Friday?
Wait, so say what?
You're talking about like the way you split up those jumps.
Hmm. Yeah, so like today we did triple broad jump on Thursdays. Tomorrow we'll do depth jumps in the weight room. It also
Okay.
depends because like I share spaces with at least one middle school class every single class period. Next semester it'll be really chaotic because there will be a health class that lifts and a middle school class.
Do you teach
And
health?
so no, but
Is that another Phi Ed teacher who does that or what?
it is, yes. So I guess you could call him our middle school strength coach if you really wanted to. But so he teaches health. Health has a semester in the classroom and a semester in the weight room. And so
Oh,
there'll be one
sweet.
class period, yeah, which is cool. But like for me, I've got like varsity athletes. He's also got to train, and then there's also a middle school class that we've got to coordinate around, all in the same class period.
Yeah.
So because of those constraints, like Tuesday, Thursdays is just the day where the middle school classes agreed, like we will find something else to do and just give you the gym. So I can't just be like, ah, I want to sprint on Mondays this week. No,
Right.
you can't because the middle school class is in there.
Yeah.
So that's like the type of jumps we'll do in the weight room. I usually try to either not measure and just like have like targets to hit,
Hmm.
just because I'm trying to like it's built in as a superset, and especially if I only got one skyhook jump mat, I don't have time for all 6 racks to come over, test their vert, and then go back to the rack in a 7 period bell schedule.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, dude, I'm gonna let you go because we're like 40 minutes in. Anyone who's still
Yeah,
listening to this, appreciate you for your viewership. Follow Brandon on Twitter and on Instagram. Like I said, he has really good, like, honest takes about everything. He's not a fence sitter. He's going to tell you what he thinks. Which is something I appreciate about you a ton. So, any final thought before we get off?
Man, I think we covered it. That
Cool.
was, yeah, that was fun.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna end this thing.